Right, Israel has resumed strikes on Iran, and the consequences are being felt globally in ways that should terrify anyone who drives a car, heats their home, or relies on the global economy. Oil prices have surged past $100 per barrel for the first time in 4 years. G7 finance ministers are meeting today in emergency session to discuss the potential joint release of strategic reserves. Bahrain's national oil company has declared force majeure as the war continues to threaten energy sites across the region. Meanwhile, Iran has named Mojtaba Khamenei, the second son of slain Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, as his successor, a choice Donald Trump previously called unacceptable and one that Israel has vowed to target. And disturbingly, new video appears to confirm a US airstrike targeted a naval base next to an Iranian school, with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth saying the US is still investigating while Trump casts blame on Iran. This is a war that's escalating militarily, economically, and morally with no clear end in sight. Let's start with what's happening on the ground because it's relentless. Israel has started what it's calling a wide-scale wave of strikes against what it says is regime infrastructure in 3 areas of Iran. Wide scale. That means extensive, coordinated, simultaneous attacks across multiple locations. This isn't surgical strikes on specific military targets. This is a broad bombardment campaign designed to systematically degrade Iran's governmental and military infrastructure. Turkey reported that NATO air defenses shot down another Iranian missile as it entered Turkish airspace, which means Iran is still firing back despite absorbing devastating punishment. And Gulf nations also reported overnight strikes, suggesting this conflict continues to spread regionally, with countries throughout the Middle East either participating in attacks, defending against them, or both. But the impact of this war isn't confined to the Middle East anymore. Oil prices have surged past $100 per barrel, reaching a 4-year high. That's catastrophic for the global economy. When oil hits $100 a barrel, everything gets more expensive. Transportation costs rise, shipping costs increase, manufacturing becomes more costly. Food prices go up because food has to be transported. Heating bills spike, gasoline prices at the pump soar. This affects every single person in every developed and developing economy on Earth. The poorest and most vulnerable will suffer most, as they always do, because they spend the highest proportion of their income on energy and food. G7 finance ministers are meeting today to discuss the potential joint release of strategic reserves. Strategic petroleum reserves exist precisely for situations like this, major supply disruptions that threaten economic stability. But releasing reserves is only a temporary measure. It provides short-term relief, but doesn't address the fundamental problem, which is that a war is raging in a region that produces a massive share of the world's oil. And it sets a dangerous precedent. If reserves are released now, what happens if this war continues for months? What happens if it spreads further? What happens if Saudi facilities are hit again? You can only drain your strategic reserves so many times before they're depleted, and you have no buffer left. Bahrain's national oil company has declared force majeure. For those unfamiliar with the term, force majeure is a legal clause that allows companies to avoid fulfilling contractual obligations due to extraordinary circumstances beyond their control, war, natural disasters, things of that nature. What this means practically is that Bahrain is saying we cannot guarantee oil deliveries because the war makes it impossible to operate safely. That's an oil-producing nation in the Gulf saying the war has made normal business operations impossible. If other Gulf oil producers follow suit and declare force majeure, global oil supplies could be catastrophically disrupted. Now let's talk about Iran's succession, because it's both significant and dangerous. Ali Khamenei's son, Mojtaba Khamenei, has been named the next supreme leader. This is dynastic succession. This is the Islamic Republic, which supposedly represents revolutionary Islamic government, operating like a monarchy by passing power from father to son. Donald Trump previously said Mojtaba would be an unacceptable choice. Israel has vowed to target any successor to Ali Khamenei. So we now have a situation where Iran's new supreme leader has been explicitly threatened with assassination by Israel. before he's even formally assumed power. How does that end? If Israel follows through and kills Mojtaba Khamenei, what does Iran do in response? This isn't de-escalation. This is a recipe for perpetual conflict. And then there's the school strike, which is deeply disturbing. New video appears to confirm a US airstrike targeted a naval base next to an Iranian school.